Now, the fourth part of the State Capture Commission's report was released by the presidency yesterday and focuses on National Treasury and Eskom. In it, Chief Justice Raymond Zondo has recommended that the National Prosecuting Authority consider pursuing charges against Tony Gupta for allegedly attempting to bribe former Deputy Finance Minister Mcebisi Jonas. To talk more on this, we're joined by the leader of the UDM, Bantu Holomisa. Very good evening to you, sir. Thank you so much for your time. In the fourth installment of the State Capture report, the Chief Justice says it was almost a miracle that the National Treasury did not fall into the tentacles of the Guptas. He further adds that he shudders to think what would have happened to this country if then President Jacob Zuma was not forced to move Des van Rooyen and his advisors out of National Treasury. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, we must agree that there's nothing new which came out of this. We have heard this noise before. And thanks to the whistleblowers, which led to the public protector, Tuli Madonsela, to recommend that there be a state capture. We have long been making a noise that this government is looting the resources of this country with their friends. Now, we are told that the matter is going to be referred to the NPA. You know that it's like kicking a tin down the road. Nothing will happen. But be that as it may, yes, we know that the DG Fuzile at the time was the one who resisted a special weekend. What was his name? Van Rooyen, who came with these two Gupta people. And Fuzile questioned why must they get instructions from them. That's the person who stopped the whole thing. But as far as the state capture is concerned, the truth of the matter is that elsewhere in the world, the ANC would have long been shown the gate or told that there be a special elections or a fresh election because they have been looting the resources here with impunity. Look at these monies which have been taken from state departments going to Lutuli House. The recent one is that one of Free State, where Judge Zondo is saying part of the money was given to other leaders and another one to the Lutuli House. Nobody seems to be concerned about that within the ruling party. So I don't know how we can educate voters in this country to tell them that these people are corrupt and they need not to be brought back to power.
Absolutely. And as we look at perhaps the recommendations that have been laid bare within that report, the Zondo Commission has recommended that the NPA should institute corruption charges against Tony Gupta, of course arising out of the attempt to bribe Mcebisi Jonas. You know, what do you make of that? I mean, that recommendation within itself, also considering some of the other names that have been put forward and still no conviction.
Well, as long as the Guptas have not been brought back to the country, that file of Zondo Commission will never be closed. So we don't know his side of the story. We are still hoping that one day he will face Mcebisi Jonas face to face, and whoever would preside to get to the bottom of this setup. The other thing which I'm more worried about Zondo seemed to be shy. Maybe he's going to tell us in his last report. Some people have been told that they must be charged. Some are expected to pay back the money they were told. But what about the billions which the ANC has benefited out of these schemes? Whether it's Eskom or other institutions, SOEs, when is he going to say these people must pay back the money?
Yeah.
Because you cannot chase individuals and leave the father and mother of all corruption. Because this institutionalized corruption has been pursued or planned from the office of the ANC at Luthuli House.
As you make mention of the SOEs, this fourth state capture report lays bare former President Jacob Zuma's alleged direct involvement in Eskom's affairs in a well-orchestrated plan to capture the state-owned power utility. And on the other end, South Africans today continue to bear the brunt of the load shedding, sick of blackouts and infuriated by how government has mishandled the crisis. Just looking at the confrontation South Africa was privy to when it comes to SCOPA and the Eskom board, what are your thoughts around the board and its capacity to right the wrongs of the past?
Well, there are many boards there, but remember that these boards were deployees of the Luthuli House. They were there to be used as conduits to approve and channel these monies back to the Luthuli House and the leaders. Look at that same scheme of Hitachi and Chancellor House. Chancellor House has not even have one engineer, but they were able to be sleeping partner, or rather partners, BEE partners, to loot the resources of Eskom. Today we have load shedding. ANC is pretending that it is not them who caused this problem. So I don't know, unless something happens drastically.
Yeah. The SIU says it's ready to act following these recommendations. Does it really have the teeth to go after those implicated? I mean, you make mention now about the imbalance. Some people told that they will be charged, some people told to pay the money. What are your thoughts around that?
SIU can do that, but they must start at Luthuli House to retrieve the monies which are there. They must pay back those monies of Bosasa. They must pay back the monies of Eskom. Everything they have stolen, including the scandal of Free State. They must pay back that money.
What are the big challenges that we're still sitting with here? Of course, as we wait for the final installment of the state capture report and looking for people to be held accountable.
Come again?
What are some of the big challenges that we face as observers and, of course, looking to get some sense of accountability as we draw towards the end? I mean, millions of rands have been spent on the state capture report, commission of inquiry, and South Africans are merely looking for accountability.
Well, obviously, Judge Zondo has to tell us what role, for instance, did the current president play when he was the deputy president charged to look after the SOEs? What went wrong? Cyril went to testify, but we are still yet to hear the findings of Judge Zondo on what he is suggesting, what he has found. Because there were serious allegations against the president, current president. So the people are waiting to hear from Zondo. The people are waiting to hear from Zondo. How will this money, which was supposed to develop infrastructure, develop the people of South Africa, ended up being stolen by one party and its leaders.
And as you make mention of President Cyril Ramaphosa's role and looking back at what we heard as his testimony wrapped up in August, there was a lot of criticism where, you know, the reaction was along the lines of seeing more of a political performance instead of a solid explanation to some really crucial questions. I mean, his role during this time, what was he doing? What does that then now mean for the president today as he tries to perhaps gain the support that he needs to you know, work his political ways?
No, I'm not interested in that field. I'm only waiting for Judge Zondo, who was tasked to investigate. He has to respond to those gray areas. It is his responsibility. He must pronounce on what role did the cabinet, did the president of Zuma would have had, but Zuma was not working alone. Mm-hmm. So he still has to tell us exactly what did the deputy president do when he was tasked to look after these SOEs. Because what we are seeing now, they are being privatized like SAA. And even on that privatization of SAA, they are giving this SAA to questionable characters, as they were fingered at the party commission. It's a chaos.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for weighing in there, UDM's Bantu Holomisa, reacting to the fourth installment of the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, asking some questions that still need to be answered as we await perhaps the final installment of the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, the role of then Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa as all of this happened. Questions, of course, about what he did or what he failed to do, as he also presented his testimony in August.